Welcome to Brett Davis Unleashed on IQ Podcast at Attorney King Studios in beautiful Coronado, California. I have my co-host with me today, Crystal Bulk,
Hello,
CB,
with your business reality.
exactly. And my guest today is Michelle Thompson. How you doing?
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
Well, I'm glad. I'm glad that we got a chance to chat about a week ago. I think it was. What's the name of your company?
It's Awesome Outsourcing.
Okay.
Nice. So, what is it? What is it that you do with Awesome Outsourcing?
Yeah, so we actually help entrepreneurs and small business owners hire virtual assistants or executive assistants. And there's kind of two ways that we do that. We actually have an agency with about 80 virtual assistants. So if somebody doesn't want to manage, they can just hand their tasks off to us and we'll do all the training and the management, all that good fun stuff. But then also, there are some people who want to learn the skill of how to hire a VA themselves. And so I do some one-on-one training and teach people how to go out and find their own awesome virtual assistants.
So, for the virtual assistants, is it just marketing or is it anything else? It could be note taking. What is it entitled?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And one of the things that we teach is how to remove yourself from the process, because so many of us are so in the weeds with our business that our business ends up running us versus us running our business. So we teach you how to actually delegate pretty much everything that you don't have to be physically present for. So any type of social media marketing, any type of blog posting, any type of website design, any type of sales, any type of accounting, any note taking, you name it. If you can think of it, we can probably figure out a way to get it off of your plate. So it's not just the run of the mill, check your email and take notes.
It's interesting because there's so many people out there that nowadays with their businesses they outsource, right? Because like you said, you end up working on your business and on than what you should really be doing as an owner. And so the one thing that I get all the time is, yeah, I got a virtual assistant, but it's like I have to train them all the time. It's like I have to always watch. It's like having an employee, right? Always watch behind what they're doing and the work that they're sending off and so forth. So that's basically what you do. You make sure that these virtual assistants are ready to go for them to not have any issues. That way they can just focus on what they do best, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. So if you decide to work with our agency, we literally do all of the training, all the managing, all the quality control. So you don't have to go back and retrain. You don't have to go back and check to make sure the work was done right, type of a deal. And then
So
if you want to do like a one-on-one consulting, we teach you how we get employees to give us that level of quality, and the systems that we use behind it to show you kind of the back door into our business of how we make it run so we don't have to constantly be babysitting.
So, Michelle, what is a typical guide us through a typical day of how you would, ch- teach these people? Now, do they pick the virtual assistants, or your team picks them and trains them?
So if you're just hiring our agency, we're going to go out and hire them and train them ourselves. If you're doing the one-on-one consulting, we typically go out and we find them together and we're going to interview together because it's a skill set that you need to learn. So
Okay.
if you're just doing agency, one-stop shop, it's the Staples Easy button. You don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah,
But if you want to learn the skill, we do it together because you're going to have questions.
How
that's
many
amazing.
how many new businesses do you typically get compared to businesses that are already in business?
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
How many new businesses are have already been in business, and how many are new business, and people that have already been in business?
Yeah, so typically, by the time they come to us, they've already been in business for a year or two. And the reason for that is typically when people start looking for a VA is when they're wearing way too many hats and they don't have enough time to get everything done, and so they're trying to dump as much off, as they possibly can. And so they've got the income coming in now, but now at this point they've got more time than money. I'm sorry, more money than time, versus when you first start a business, you have a lot of time, but there's not necessarily a lot of income or revenue coming in. So by the time people get to us, there's usually more revenue than time, and they're looking to get their time freedom back. And so that's kind of where they're at in our cycle.
Okay. Now, I heard you mention that there's even VAs for accounting. Now, what part of accounting is it? More like bookkeeping and more settled things, like the groundwork, or is it more advanced stuff as well? I'm just curious.
Yeah. So ironically, the majority of the people that we hire, even to do bookkeeping, are CPAs. So they can do anything from tax preparation to just entering in your ledger items. So it's really in what you want. Now, I can tell you for the agency side, we're not going to, do your taxes. But if you wanted us to find you a CPA that could do it one-stop shop, we could absolutely do that. But as far as the bookkeeping side, and any type of P&Ls or reports that you might need, that's super easy to automate and just push off your plate.
Now, are the majority of your VA people from out of the country, or could it be some people in the U.S.?
Yeah. So 100% are out of the country. We do all of our hiring from the Philippines. And the reason that we picked the Philippines is they are very good at English, and they also love to be part of a team environment. And so it works out well, especially with their culture. They have a very different culture than the United States. And that's one of the things that I kind of teach, because there are some differences, right? But I have had amazing success with finding really, really incredible talent from the Philippines. And so 100% hands down, that's where I'm going. It doesn't mean that's the only place to go. There are great places in the United States. Mexico is another good place to hire if you want. If you're looking for like coding software, India is the place to go. If you're looking for something really super niche and specific. But for what we do, the Philippines is hands down the best place for us.
Did you decide on the Philippines through your research, or is there a connection to the Philippines?
No, actually, it was all research. So I started outsourcing about 15 years ago. And when I first started, it was actually a concept. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the 4-hour work week.
Yeah, Tim
Yeah.
Ferriss.
Yeah, Timothy Ferriss, right? So that's kind of how I got the bug. And I was like, what in the world? How did he do this? And so his recommendation was Brickworks India at that point in time. And and when I did my research, I found out there's a huge language barrier. And so I would tell somebody to maybe do something, and it would get lost in translation. And it wasn't that they weren't a good VA, it was that they just didn't understand what I was trying to tell them. So I started looking for some alternatives of people who spoke English as their first language, and that took me to the Philippines. And so every Filipino will speak English, because that's when you go into their court systems, inside of schools, they don't speak Tagalog, which is the national language. They all speak English. All the court documents, everything is in English. If you go inside of a restaurant, a hospital, a courtroom, it's all English. And so that's what led me there.
I had my first trip to the Philippines, was it a year ago? And my wife's Filipina. And
Awesome.
so we went to visit her family over there, and you're absolutely right. Everywhere we went, there was never a challenge or a problem communicating, even though there's over 1,000 different dialects.
Yeah.
On their end. So those 1,000 dialects, they all still speak English.
Yep, exactly.
That's wild.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Now, you mentioned Mexico. From your research, from your experience, what areas is Mexico good for?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I have friends who outsource to Mexico. I personally have never done it. So I would not be able to answer that well, just because I have no experience with it. But I do know it's possible. I just haven't tried.
Okay.
So you mentioned the Philippines, and we were actually beating some ideas around with how to market what we're doing at IPU. Did I say IQ?
IQ.
IQ. Excuse me. IQ's IQ podcast. No wonder why I can't get it right. Something smells around here.
You named it.
Yeah, I remember
Remind
where
you.
we were talking when we came up with the name. But anyway, as far as marketing, it's important to get that social media out there from YouTube to Facebook, to Instagram. Am I leaving any else out? And I'm sure you can.
There's so many different
Right.
platforms.
So are there organizations over there that can take your brand and market it across all over the place at an affordable amount?
Oh
like
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean,
100%.
the biggest thing is just getting that stuff out there. But I'm learning also as we're going along with this that sometimes if you put something out too much, it waters it down too. People get irritated by it.
That's correct. And what I do, what I'm a big fan of is working smarter, not harder, even if it is with a virtual assistant. And so what we do is we use a hybrid of software and virtual assistants, and we combine the two together. So there's like a social media scheduling platform, like such as, could be Meet Edgar or Social Bee or Buffer, Hootsuite. Those are all different options. And what we'll do is we'll have our VA create content for an entire month and schedule it out so that they're using their time most efficient. They only have to spend 4 hours on it and it's done for the whole month and you never have to think about it again.
Yeah, that's what I do with my business. But I have my employee do it. Outsourcing as well.
So what would be, let's say we're starting this, we started our business. What would be an advantage to going to the Philippines, for example? And what would you do if you were us?
Okay.
Yeah. So in the Philippines, you can get incredibly highly educated people to work for pennies on the dollar of what we would pay in the United States. And a lot of people get mad at me because they think I'm, encouraging slave labor. And it's not that at all, actually. So with my team, I actually pay higher rates than what they would normally get. And it's still incredibly inexpensive for me. I have a full-time writer who does all of my blog, all my social media, all of that, and I pay him $4.40 an hour, and that's full time. And he is amazing, and he has his master's. It is not uncommon to find somebody who will work for $6 an hour that has their doctorate. And it's just the difference in the culture. The Filipino peso is really, really watered down compared to the American dollar. And the average that most people make a day in the Philippines, now this is across the Philippines, so this is a little bit of a broad statistic, but they typically make about $12 a day. And that is having them commute an hour and a half into Manila, into the city, where they're going to then work 8 to 10 hours and then commute another hour and a half back. So they're gone from their family probably 12 to 13 hours a day. And they're still making, minimum wage. They're making $12 an hour and they're, spending a lot of time on a bus. They're away from their family. They have to pack their lunch. They have to pay for their bus ticket, all that good fun stuff. So by me enabling them to stay at home and work from home, they're able to spend so much more time with their family. And at $4.40 an hour, he's making 3 times what he would if he would go into Manila and work. So it's really about treating your employees right and giving them a really good livable wage. But also it's about the quality of life that you're providing for them.
What's the difference with the peso in the Philippines compared to the peso in Mexico? As far as where do you get more value, do you think?
That's a great question. I haven't tried to look up what a Filipino peso is versus a Mexican peso. I could
I
pull
could
up
tell you right
TransferWise and
now,
look. Yeah,
Mexico's a little bit higher than,
it probably is. Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, for sure.
Let's
But then
see.
also, like like she was mentioning though, like okay, she's paying $4 an hour, but you know what? For them, that's a lot more.
And
And
$12
so
in a day.
you're technically not taking advantage of them. In their countries, the costs are lower than what it
Right.
is, you know.
And the other thing too is in the Philippines, a lot of times their culture is multi-generational. And so inside of one household, it's not uncommon to have the grandmother, the mother, the child, and the grandchild all living under the exact same roof. And that's one of the cool things about it is when you're employing somebody, you're not just supporting them, you're supporting their entire family. And with my staff, I'm pay them enough that, and we actually give them community money to be able to go out and spend it in their community however they see fit, however their community needs it. So if they see somebody who's homeless who needs some food or some clothing, they can go, they have a bucket of money to be able to go do that. But you're also increasing their schools, you're increasing all kinds of things by putting money back into their economy.
Yeah, that's true, and I think the Mexican culture also does that too. They're very good on keeping family together, and it's kind of the same way. What was that Joey Coy's thing about the Philippines being the Latin American country of Asia?
Yeah, they're like the only ones with the Latino last name. But it's true. They're very
It's
similar
true.
cultures
Yeah, so
in the way.
yeah, you're absolutely right. So there's two kind of major parts of the Philippines. There's like the um Spanish Filipinos, and then there's like regular Filipinos, and you can always tell by the last name. And it's super interesting because they're different cultures, even though
Right.
they're but I mean, I suppose the same thing happens right here in America, right? Because we have Chinatown and I don't know, Little Italy, right? And they're probably very different. But it is interesting because people think oh, a Filipino is a Filipino is a Filipino, and that's not true.
The same thing goes for Mexico. There's different parts of Mexico. It's different dialects too. What's a good website that people could go to if they wanted more information? I think we've had a great time
Yeah, so much
having you on the show.
information.
What's a good website?
Yeah, so our website is awesomeoutsourcing.com. And there are some really cool free tools that I have out there that help you figure out what is the best thing to get off your plate first. So I have what's called like a task discovery list. And so what it does is it has you go through and figure out everything you do in a month and how many hours it's taking you. And then you basically filter it, and it tells you which job you should hire for first. Then there's another calculator on there that's it's called a VA calculator. And so it's basically going to give you the average cost for an employee full-time in the Philippines. So you know approximately what you're looking for when you go to put a job description out there. And so both of those are super awesome tools. So you can find that at awesomeoutsourcing.com/task-discovery and awesomeoutsourcing.com/VA-calculator. There we go.
Michelle Thompson, thank you so much for being on Let Davis Unleashed with CB, of course, next to me here.
Yeah.
Your business reality. Thank you. And I'd like to thank my sponsors, Attorney King Amanpour, Indian Motorcycle of San Diego, and Cosmopolitan Hotel and Restaurant. And God bless you.